So it's Sunday, a different time than normal, and this is the first ever episode of Loaded Lounge. Good evening. So, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on however the viewers want to look at it, you've only got myself tonight. There's none of the funny, witty Martin, the sharp Irishness of Daz, the Scouse Avon selling abilities of Chris, or the brandy drinking exploits of Dave Pete tonight. So, unfortunately, you just got me. But it is the first episode of Loaded Lounge. As everyone's aware, Loaded Football Weekly came to an end this Wednesday. But what we decided to do is we decided to split it down the middle, and Loaded Lounge is now the second hour of what Loaded Football Weekly was. So we will have a music guest every single week, normally on a Wednesday night, but as you'll find out, this was scheduled for Wednesday coming up. But England decided that they want to get to a semi-final at Wembley against Denmark, so we had to reschedule, and luckily with the two lads we've got on tonight from Parade, they're both much mutual loving of England and football than I am, so they were more than happy to switch over to tonight so they could watch the semi-final on Wednesday. So, without further ado, I will bring into the show Phil and Watters.
What?
Good evening, boys. Well, I'm just going to go off what your name is in the screen. Do you know what I mean? If you want to put a different name in, that's fair enough. But
I didn't know it was going to be displayed. I mean, I'm quite uncouth. I could have put anything, couldn't I?
You could have put anything you wanted to be called, yeah? You could have put King
Savage.
But anyway, lads, thank you very much for joining us on our debut show. We've had a bit of a chat over the numerous months about trying to get you on the show. We had you penciled for the original date, then we moved you forward, and then the Euros got in the way, and we've had to jig things around. But we finally managed to get you on the show, which we're much appreciated about. So, obviously, meant to be on Wednesday night, but as I mentioned, England have decided to get to the semi-finals of the Euros at Wembley. All big football fans. So, did you get a chance to watch the game yesterday, lads?
Yeah. Weren't going to miss that. Weren't going to miss that at all. The funny thing is about rescheduling things. I'm always like tempted, I better move it just in case England win or something like that. But the amount of times in the past where you've been made to feel like an idiot if you've moved something and England don't even get through to it.
Yeah.
So you're always worried, don't you? But there they are, semi-final.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because like I've actually had to book a table at a pub preempting we get to the final on Sunday, so I can actually go to the pub and watch it. Whether we get there or not, at least I've guaranteed me a seat at the table in front of the big screen next Sunday, though. But did you get a chance to watch it in Watters, or do you want me to call anything else tonight?
No, Watters is fine. It sounds better with your accent, I must say.
Does it? All right, Watters.
Watters, man. Yeah, I did watch it. Funnily enough, though, my stepdad fell asleep during the game.
You're joking?
Seriously, I mean, like we were celebrating pretty hard. Like I don't know how he slept through it. Maybe one too many ales.
Possibly. Did you have a drink yourselves, or was he just a bit of a a quiet one while watching the game, or were you out and about?
Well, he had toothache or something last night, so I didn't think he was going to make this.
Yeah, not a well man. Not a well man on antibiotics. I come off them just before the final, though. So that's.
So he was on the Sunday last night.
Sandy last night, yeah, but it'll hit you doubly hard on there next Sunday than Phil, won't it? When you've had the alcohol after the antibiotics.
Yeah, it's almost like it's meant to be, isn't it?
Well, fingers crossed. Anyway, let's not tempt fate. The last time we played Denmark, we got beat. So let's just hope there's no sense off this time, though.
Yeah.
So, lads, what I'll do is I'm going to play your first track before we get talking a bit more about Parade, yourselves, your history about you. So what I'm going to start off with is your new single, or your most recent single, Collisions. So here you go, lads. Here's Collisions by Parade.
Follow the river, throw it Somewhere between the past and stretch of time, when I think of you, I collide with you. You are on my mind. There were some moments when I checked back to see if you were still searching. Alas, some things are meant to be. Guess the chances that we call it around and draw a line, and the shifting sands of a fatherland where lovers lie. Somewhere between the past and stretch of time, when I think of you, I collide with you. You are on my mind. Somewhere between the past and stretch of time, when I think of you, I collide with you. You are on my mind. Somewhere between the past and stretch of time, when I think of you, I collide with you. You are on my mind. Contrails zigzag the morning sky. We thank the view with faint red cries. Late summer blooms, alas goodbye. We thank the view, we thank the view. Contrails zigzag the morning sky. We thank the view with faint red cries. Late summer blooms, alas goodbye. We thank the view, we thank the view. Contrails zigzag the morning sky. We thank the view with faint red cries. Late summer blooms, alas goodbye. We thank the view, we thank the
Great track, lad. Absolutely love that one. So, obviously, you released that one during the latter half of lockdown, so you wanted to obviously be able to get out there and do a video. So, what was the idea behind the video then?
Well, we kind of toyed with the idea of doing something like that for a while. I think we were thinking about it for Attack, actually. We were going to do something very graphical and something that didn't have the band in it. But yeah, like you mentioned, like the kind of limitations of trying to operate a band in this environment gave us an opportunity to explore that kind of idea, and that's what we did. But the great thing with that video is a lot of like references to Coventry and that a lot of people haven't picked up on. Maybe they just haven't watched it, I don't know. But I think if you've got anything about you as a Coventry person, you know, there's a lot of references in that video to the city, which is quite appropriate because this is our year. Well, you know, the city of culture thing that we've got going on at the minute. Yeah. But that was lost on everyone else. But, yeah.
So it's just the artistic side of you yeah. Too, and I'd picked it up and thought, yeah, let's go with that.
A little bit too Picasso for most cop people, I think.
Cool. So obviously we'll start talking about yourself. So how long have Parade been like a band, and how long have you been going for?
Do you want me, Phil? You happy for me to just talk? I know you've got bad mouth, haven't you?
Yeah, you crack on, mate. You crack on.
Yeah, so the first Parade gig was in 2018.
Yep.
We were I think we were kind of like operating under the name Parade probably like most of 2017, but we didn't actually take to the stage until 2018. So it's like 3 years or something now. But prior to that, me and him and the little one who plays keys never turns up to stuff like this. We were in a band. We were in another band for like, I don't know, like 7 years or something, which, you know, did pretty good, but all things come to an end, don't they, at some point? So
obviously, I know a lot. Obviously, I've looked through a lot of your songs on YouTube and Spotify and stuff like that, and you've had some songs out, you know, before the lockdown period and stuff. So, but how did lockdown affect parades progress. You know, obviously it's affected most bands, but I think the one good thing about that didn't make it as severe as possibly people have thought is how strong social media is, and how you're still able to get your music out there without, you know, being able to get to places and put gigs on and stuff like that.
To be honest, like the only thing, you know, we lost out on playing some great shows and some festivals. So did everybody, but we used it to our advantage. Lockdown's been brilliant for us because the only thing you could do was write, make new songs, explore new ideas, and we did that. I mean, I can't think of too many bands that have like written and recorded as much as we have in lockdown. I can name a few, but I'm really proud of what we achieved in the last year and a bit.
Yeah, it's like with the animated video as well. We've ended up we've made creative decisions like out of necessity that we probably wouldn't have made otherwise.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and as Paul said, like with all the writing we've been doing, we've come out of it much better off, like much richer in terms of what songs we've got, and the set's like unrecognizable pretty much from what it was going into lockdown.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that gig we played a couple of weeks ago in Hull.
Yeah.
I think we played 3 new songs that we'd never played live, you know, other than like in a rehearsal room, which doesn't count. It's like a pre-season friendly, isn't it? Rehearsals. So yeah, it's like a new dawn. It's cool.
It might as well be. It's been that long, you know. It's been a long time, isn't it? So yeah.
So did the lockdown, did it like allow you to focus where you wanted the music to go going forward, or fine tune what you already had going?
Yeah, I think coming out of it, once we were able to rehearse again, we sort of rented a venue that couldn't open legally, so we reached an agreement with them to just rehearse now once we were able to do that legally and everything, and we were able to refine what we wanted to do live, and I think we benefited massively from that. I mean, for instance, I used to play guitar on some songs in our old band, and in this band I've just been like singing and prancing around like a twat. But
I've seen on the videos.
Touché, man. And then, the last gig I started playing keys, so you know, like lockdown gave us the opportunity to do things musically that we'd never done before. So yeah, the dynamic of our band's changed because of that, but you know, all for the good. It's been positive.
Yeah, I think one of the things that, you know, how lockdown worked for me is it allowed me to get back in touch with music, because I'm in my early 40s now, and when I was in my late teens, early 20s, you know, I was big into me like indie scene and stuff like that. And then you get my family came along with my wife, my kids, and you get stuck in your old ways, and you seem to listen to all the stuff you used to when you were either, you know, when you grew up, or perhaps things that might grow on you that you listen to through your parents that were influences to you as well. But with the lockdown coming back on, you know, it allowed you to find new stuff that you probably wouldn't have been able to see before, and then to see how big the music scene is now, especially since social media makes it so viable for bands to put their stuff out there through Spotify, YouTube, and Twitter, and obviously Instagram, stuff like that. It's really great to see. So one of the things that we have had a lot of like indie bands on the show, but what we want to do with this show is we wanted to go, diversify a bit. Now, I wouldn't say you like your indie type band or anything like that. How would you describe your sound?
I think we're more indie than people kind of give us credit for. We kind of get labelled as a synth band, and there's as much guitar in our music as there are synth. But I think the way we use the synth, it kind of, I don't know, maybe it's like lazy journalism almost, like, oh, they're a synth band. I'm not sure that we are. I think we're more like a pop rock band, but we just use synths. Let's go with indie.
Yeah. See, I would have went with the indie electro type things. Obviously, the indie electro has come back in massively over the recent years. Now, obviously, look at a lot of the videos that you've got. Like, look at the Collision video you've just had there with the very neon and stuff like that. That was very 80s as well.
Yeah.
So it was just, I was wondering, was that sort of like indie electro type thing. But obviously, if you want to be classed as indie, that's more than fine by me. So
yeah, that's right. I think the sort of 80s reference, as much as you can hear it musically, I think as a decade, the way that like there were these seismic shifts in like politics and you know, it was pre-digital. We sort of had that like that crossover between analog and digital, and the way the world was sort of getting faster. And it was, if you think about what was happening in Europe in the 80s, and how it influenced music, you know, the fall of communism and the Soviet Union and all that kind of stuff. It's just really interesting. I think it's so rich. You can delve into it deeper and deeper. And then closer to home, if you think about the 80s, like the city that we grew up in as little kids, it was a dump. It was bleak. I mean, you know, you're from the northeast. It suffered the same economically as what Coventry did with the Thatcherism and that. And it like subliminally, it sort of like influences your music. And but in all of that darkness, you've got these like the brightness of like the synth music. And I think that's what we kind of draw on more than the actual like songs of the 80s. It's kind of like, it's what it means metaphorically.
It does feel like you're less likely to be described as indie the more sort of colour you add to your visuals as well. Like it's usual to have like black and white photographs as an indie band, and I think we've got a lot of colour going on. We've got a lot of pinks and purples and neon and everything. So
not
people see that and they'll probably think synthwave, like, because I mean music's very, very visual now, isn't it? So
I know. It's quite weird. You've actually given us the perfect. You know, Daz is normally does our LFW show and Loaded Mag show. He's in the chat tonight, he's obviously just keeps in the right direction where to find all your videos, because Keith was asking where you can find your videos on YouTube. Now, Phil's just given us the perfect intro for your next song, which I'll put on now. And as Phil mentioned, this is Colours.
Tune.
of course.
Look out below, there goes the life you lead. Loving is easy with you on the scene. Hello, hello, when it's not what it seems. Color the pages of a magazine for only you. I daydream the minutes and moments of float on the breeze, and only I would retrieve the flight on the pattern of a fallen leaf. I wanna go San Diego, I wanna go Berlin, to see New York City, the colors within. I wanna go San Diego, I wanna go Berlin, to see New York City, the colors within. For you, but I daydream the minutes and moments that float on the breeze, and only I would retrieve the flight on the pattern of a fallen leaf. So what if they would perceive breath from the words you try to conceal? It's only time, and I'll stand by, making things visual from a visual truth. I wanna go San Diego, I wanna go Berlin, to see New York City, the colors within. I wanna go San Diego, I wanna go Berlin, to see New York City, the colors within. Colors within. Lost in Constantinople, silent with me. It's color and chaos, poetry of the free. Poetry of the free. Poetry of the. I wanna go San Diego, I wanna go Berlin, see New York City and the colors within. I wanna go San Diego, I wanna go Berlin, see New York City and the colors within.
Gotta say, lads, I love that song, and it's been getting some good feedback in the chat. I don't know whether you saw the some of the messages come up. I know what was like squinting at the screen when Keith put his message up, so I'll put it back up again. And apparently, his
Yeah, I love
laugh
that.
likes it as well.
What did it say?
What a Keith is one of our regulars on the show, and obviously chat. And his laugh obviously likes it too. She's doing the Geordie shimmy as well to it, so class. But obviously,
Give my number.
sorry, what was that? What is?
I said you can give her my number.
I think Keith might have something to say about that.
I'm joking, Keith.
So, going through your back catalogue on Spotify, and obviously Colours is probably your most popular one and most streamed. Why do you think that one's been your most popular song?
That's a hard one, actually, isn't it?
I don't know.
I like it. I really like it.
That
was the song that caught the attention to Parade before I started listening to the record. That was the one where I played it and went, "Their class," and I listened to the rest of your stuff as well. But I think each of your songs has a different theme to it. There's not one song doesn't sound like a similar one, if that makes sense. There's a different sound to each one. So I just wanted to know, why do you think that one's been so successful for you?
I mean, I don't want to act like we didn't know that there was something in it as soon as we'd written it. Like, as soon as we came out with Colours, we knew we had something, like, we've got a good one here, basically. But if you asked me to put my finger on why, I couldn't tell you. Just, it's got the hooks, hasn't it? It's got the big chorus, and it's got the sort of drama in the verses.
It's got the right BPM as well, isn't it? It's like the first time we played it, we were getting messages. We played a little show, and we just put it in the set, and we loved it. But we were getting messages straight away from day one. It's just got that, like, the right amount of foot taps, I think.
Yeah. And
it's great imagery. It's
yeah,
nice.
I definitely agree. I think it's a really like a fitting video for the song, if that makes sense as well. Do you know what I mean? It seems like where I live in the northeast, I'm not too far from the coast. It seems like you're around the amusement parks on the front of, like, on the coast somewhere, which I don't doubt that's the case being in the Midlands at Coventry, but you know, I could be wrong on that one. So I know you wouldn't have been up with Sunderland anyway, I know that.
No,
Anyway,
I've actually never been to Sunderland, but
you don't want to.
No, I've been to Newcastle a couple of times. Much better up there, isn't it?
Not much better, yeah. That's why whenever someone goes on holiday and they ask for where Sunderland is, and everyone says, "Oh, that's next to Newcastle, isn't it?" They don't know where Sunderland is. That's why.
Wow, I know more about Gateshead, to be honest.
There you go. That's just said it all, isn't it?
Sunderland.
But anyway, what has Keith's actually got back to us on his about you having his last telephone number.
Good man.
He's actually turned and answered and said she's on her way because he's fed up with her. So there you go.
Fair enough.
All the songs that we actually play tonight, we actually have a Spotify playlist. So all the acts that we have on Loaded Football Weekly and Loaded Lounge going forward are all in one playlist. So all the songs that I play tonight will be added to that. So just to give you a bit of a shout out and heads up on that as well. And if you notice any of your streams all of a sudden going up and stuff, that's probably why. You probably had quite a few more recently off myself to do it. So
I don't say we're like, for whatever reason, we're massively unpopular on Spotify. I don't know what it is. So yeah, a much needed stream or two would be great.
Well, I know I've got a few of the tracks on my own personal playlist that I get from obviously any acts we have on the show. So I've already got them on mine. So you'll have a few extra pennies in your account from them. I know you don't get much on Spotify, but you might see a few extra pennies anyway. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and put on another song. Now, the song I'm going to put on, I actually think it's my favourite song of yours. And as you say, it hasn't done really well on Spotify. And I asked you about actually having that version, but unfortunately you don't have that version on YouTube. So I actually went with the acoustic version you did. And I think if you get to listen to the original on Spotify and then you hear this one, it's how amazing a song can sound in two different ways, if that makes sense. Because the original version of A Fear of Living is got a really upbeat electro guitars and stuff like that. And then you hear the acoustic version, which I'm going to play now, it feels like a completely different song, if that makes sense. I don't know what you think to that, lad.
I think I had a banging headache when we did that. That's like a live take.
Yeah,
so I'm not looking forward to it, but yeah, it is.
It still sounds good. It still sounds good.
I think that's the thing with that's what's great about music, isn't it? Like rediscovering your own stuff, or yeah, that's just it's a cool take on an electronic sounding song.
I think that stays how good a song can be. That if you play it a different way, it can sound like a completely different song as well. You know, like obviously listen to a lot more music with some of the bands that we've got lined up for the future. You know, you hear like the with the rock guitar, the drums and stuff like that, then you hear them done acoustically, and you think, wow. You know, like sometimes on one song, like one of the bands I've got lined up coming in the next few weeks, all they've got is a little bit of electro guitar on the normal version compared to the acoustic, but that little way the electric guitar is played at the start and throughout the song, it just makes that song so much more appealing. But that's not saying the acoustic one's a bad version. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so I wanted to play this version because I said it's my favourite song of yours, and I really, really love this version of it. So whether you had a bad head or not, ladders, it still came across really, really well. So this is A Fear of Living by Parade.
Girl, I'm getting close. Turn your head, face the ceiling. Show me your Holy Ghost. Heavy heart revealing. You'll be mine by the evening. If we can turn back time, and I can change your mind. These feelings I'm feeling are feelings I've just never had. The feel of living, not dreaming of winning you back. Coming down slow. Photograph what you're hearing. 'Cause baby, I know. Looks alone, not deceiving. You'll be mine by the summertime. If I can change your mind and make you mine. These feelings I'm feeling are feelings I've just never had. The feel of living, not dreaming of winning you back. The feelings I'm feeling are feelings I've just never had. The feel of living, not dreaming of winning you back. The feel of living. A feel of living. A feel of living. A feel of living. Don't stop discovering, and don't lose your sense of wondering. The feelings I'm feeling are feelings I've just never had. The feel of living, not dreaming of winning you back. The feelings I'm feeling are feelings I've just never had. The feel of living, not dreaming of winning you back. Feel of living.
So your head didn't seem that too bad, ladders. Really?
Hurting again now.
No, I think that's a really good version of the song. I really, really like that version.
Thank you.
I think
Cheers,
it's listening to the lyrics of it. I think it's. I don't know if it just it goes better. with the acoustic side of things, but I still love the original as well, if that makes sense. But yeah, I love that show. So
It just lets you appreciate a song in a different way, I suppose, doesn't it? You take out all of the like added like noise around it, and then you're just left with like blokes and guitars and whatnot, and their voice, and that's it.
yeah, I think when you actually listen, if you put yourself in, like, obviously Paul Shiz when he's singing it, it sounds like, you know, he's saying about the people, that girl out there. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you know, is he wants that feeling of being able to like win her back again in the future and stuff like that. And I think we can probably all relate to that at some point in our life, and I think that's why, especially, the words come across really well in the acoustic version. If that may obviously listen to it, but it's still a really, really good version when you hear the normal version as well. And both of them, I imagine, because obviously I haven't heard the original version live, but I imagine it'll be just as good as the acoustic one we've heard on that live set that you did there. So I think, as you said, it gives a testament to a song, really, that it can sound so great two different ways.
It's a song that we like a lot more live, to be fair, isn't it? That one.
I think it's a playing song rather than a listening song for me.
It was a song that was recorded. The sort of studio version that you listen to on Spotify, that was recorded. It was probably the first thing we did in the studio when COVID hit, and there was a lot of, obviously, like, inconvenient regulations going on, like a lot of things that we weren't used to, like you got to be in the studio at this time, you got to be out at this time. So there was huge time constraints on it, a lot of rushing around, like filling guitar bits in here and there, like getting in the vocal booth like for an hour, like if you can, and just rush take out. So yeah, it's fair to say it's something that we prefer a lot more live, because it never really got the exploration it needed in the studio.
I think it was written in like 3 days as well. It
was, yeah.
Really lockdown's
quick.
Been super fast. Collisions as well. They were just like, Phil would send me some bits of music, and I'd literally just write to that, and then WhatsApp them back to him. So it's another song that was, it was written so quickly, and like you said, we didn't have the opportunity to explore the ideas or any of that. But I mean, it's wicked that people like it. I love that. I'm humbled by it and everything. But yeah, it just gives me a headache listening to it.
Does it make you want to go out and re-record it again? Then, if you weren't able to put out the parade's full touch on it, if that makes sense?
Not really. I don't know. Personally, I don't think it's not big enough song for me to revisit. I would just like rather leave it. That's not to say, like,
it's quite good that it's just a live favorite, isn't it? You know, just like it'll be in the set for a long time, because as a live song, it's brilliant. Like, it's nice and quick, great chorus, really energetic. So
all our songs are quick. we don't venture past 3 minutes if we can help it.
No.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I think your longest is about 3 minutes 20 seconds or something, isn't it? I think you must have pushed the board out that one, did you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a bit of foreplay on that one.
Bit of a teaser. So I've got some comments coming off there. Obviously, people in this chat. Daz has been listening. He thinks he says he hope he doesn't insult you, but he thinks you've got a bit of a similar sound with the script. Tom, he thinks you've got a very similar sound with the Killers, which I think is a pretty good compliment. You know, their music stands the test of time. God, since I was young, do you know what I mean? I remember listening to Mr. Brightside when I was in my mid-20s. You know what I mean? That's like over 15 years ago now. So I think if people can put comparisons like that, I think that's a real positive thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I had a couple of questions coming in. I've got obviously Dino from Away Day Radio's on. There's a couple of questions I wanted to put in from you. I'll just find out where it is. Right, there's David, who's one of our regulars. He was saying he wondered if you were planning on doing any festivals when they're back up and running. I know the festival scene's been drastically hit this year, when there's been a lot planned and then no support from the government, and so they've obviously had to waylay quite a few of them. Some of the ones towards the end of August, September may still go ahead if guidelines change and stuff. They were wondering he was wondering if you were doing any festivals when they're back running properly, and also if you'd heard of one that we've got in the Northeast called the Mouth of the Time Festival, which is if you're familiar with the Northeast, lads, obviously go out to the coast. You've got Tynemouth, a nice priory there, and the gig's actually set actually on the coast, and it's a really, really intimate festival. And I can see why David's actually mentioned that. So, is it something that you'd consider doing, like that sort of festival, or have you got anything penciled in that you can tell us about for either end this year or and next year?
Yeah, so we're lucky enough in that we've got 2 festivals that were meant to happen last year, rescheduled for this year. So we're playing Camper Calling on the 27th of August. That's sold out. That's going ahead. And then we're playing a Stapfold Festival, which is, again, it's at the tail end of August, and that's so far going ahead. So fingers crossed, nothing happens with those. But to answer the other question, like for me, playing a festival, any size festival, because we played some tiny ones, we played obviously for our sort of level. We're not lucky enough to be on these like, Isle of Wight or anything like that. Like Apollo Junction, I know they get like massive festivals, but the sort of regional festivals, for me, it's the best thing in the world. It's just the most amazing feeling turning up to a field that smells like shit, and the sun's, baking down. You don't get a sound check or any of that. It's just wicked. I love it. That's I'm my happiest when I'm playing a festival, I think. So, if we had the opportunity to play the one up in the northeast, we'd be all over that.
Oh yeah, resounding yes to that question from everyone in Parade. I can say right now, yeah.
Well,
Definitely.
I would normally have my partner in crime Martin with us, because Martin does the music side of the Loaded as well. And one of the questions that that Martin always asks is, because it literally started off as a joke on Twitter, and then it spiraled through past guests that we had on, guests that came on and stuff like that. And everyone was saying, how class would this be if this was a gig lineup with all the bands that we had? And everyone was like, yeah, we'll do it. So if we do get a chance to get around to doing it and have enough interest in it, would Parade happily come and play on the gig?
Yeah, as long as we can go on after the institutes.
Fair enough. I'll have to obviously run that by the rest of the lads and stuff like that. But
our music's better in the dark because of the pink lights. It's wasted at like 2:00 in the afternoon.
Nah. The thing is, though, at least if you go on later on, you'll be able to remember all the music beforehand, and then you can go, yeah, that wasn't as good as us. That wasn't as good as us, was it? No, that's good to know. So I'll let Martin know that, because obviously Martin's on planning that out as we speak. So I'm just going through some of the feedback here. What I'm going to do while I'm going through some of the comments here, I'm just going to bring up talk about our sponsors that we've got with the show. As you can see, the top corner there, we've got Mind, Body and Soul. Mind, Body and Soul do fantastic work for mental health charities throughout basically men's mental health in the UK. And one of the reasons why we're proud to be associated with them, they make a difference to people who probably need it more for the smaller things. So it could be you haven't got enough money to pay your electric bills this week. You haven't got enough money to get to work. And what that does is, by able to giving someone a helping hand for those small amounts, can resolve a really stressful situation, to avoid it, spiraling out of control, and to, some people can think it might be nothing. Some people, obviously, it can, lead to drastic things. We've got a website. It's Mind, Body and Soul UK. They've got a fantastic range of merchandise, from hoodies and t-shirts and hats, which you'll see myself, Martin and Daz wearing during the show sometimes. All profits from all of the merchandise, 100% of it goes towards the charity and to continue the fantastic work that they do. And also a big shout out to our other partners, Away Day Radio. This will be going out on Away Day Radio probably this Saturday afternoon, lads. So you'll be getting plenty of airtime for all the tracks that have been showed tonight. I know it's actually going out live on the Away Day Radio Facebook tonight as well at the same time. And I was speaking to Gary, and I know Dino's in the chat as well tonight. So thanks, lad, for tuning in. So what I wanted to do now is, before we move on, we'll give that shout out. let's have a look. I've got a couple of songs listed in the system here, lads. We've got up to 20 minutes to talk a little bit more music than about Coventry City. So I've got Hurts, I Want My Time With You, and I've also put in the acoustic version of Colours. So I'll let you have a choice. What would you prefer to hear?
I prefer to listen to Hurts, I think. It's a great song. I love that.
Yeah, you agree, Phil?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Parade's choice for the night is Hurts.
Hearts keep on beating. Godspeed this evening. Every day we would change just to stay the same. Too far to come back. Too slow to comfort. These hands you've held. If we see it, where broken hearts repaired. Catch on fire in these unions of fate. I'd give an alibi to a passerby. He's only human after all, and so are you. Now I'll lay your love on the ground. This time it's between your heart and mine. Now I'll lay your love on the ground. This time it's between your hearts and mine. Time will judge what we say. So just say it anyway. And you can change your mind, because there's always time. But I'm still gonna ache for you. And now I'll lay your love on the ground. This time it's between your heart and mine. Now I'll lay your love on the ground. This time it's between your hearts and mine. Your heart and mine. Your heart and mine. And now I'll lay your love on the ground. This time it's between your heart and mine. Now I'll lay your love on the ground. This time it's between your hearts and mine. Your heart and mine. Your heart and mine. Your heart and mine.
It's a great song,
Thank
lads.
you.
Did a great job. Getting some love again in the chat there. Some really good feedback. You know what I mean? It's people saying, you've mentioned of the enemy there, which it's the spirit of the enemy lives. It's great compliment when you get stuff like that. Really, it really is.
Here, Paul, we can dig that comment out anytime says we're not indie, can't we? You know.
Our friend who comes on our Loaded Mag show, and we're talking Newcastle, he thinks it's in excess getting started today, sort of vibe as well. He said, in excess, yeah.
I like that, yeah.
I'm having that, man.
Yeah. I must admit, I'm like a bit partial, a bit suicide blonde and stuff like that. So, yeah. So I've got another question from one of our regulars who comes on the show, Paul Oxley, and he said, if you could play with any band or artist, who would it be and why?
We desperately want to play with a band called Future Islands. I could go a bit further than that. We'd want to play with them in the Paradiso in Amsterdam, because that's where me and Phil. I don't know why I'm pointing at him. Me and Phil we took a flight over to Amsterdam to watch this band called Future Islands from the States, and it was amazing, man. It was just like colossal. So I think it would work as well musically, to be honest.
Yeah. Is that the same for you? Is that the same for you, Phil? Would that be your dream gig? Or
I mean, I'd love to add some variety to it, but no, like me and Paul went to that gig in Amsterdam, having just sort of discovered them like a few months earlier, and it was just we've taken so much from that gig in terms of what we bring to our live show, and just to play a gig with them anywhere would be like to go full circle, really, like sort of just complete everything.
I remember after that gig, we were chatting with the band that we're supporting on. They're called Zach Mexico, and they're another band from the States. And I remember, like, I was smashed. We'd been on the Heineken for about 3 hours before the gig.
Yeah.
And we were in the foyer. We got chatting to them, and I was like, just making sure they realised how lucky they were to not only be playing with, like, to not only be supporting them, but to be playing overseas. I mean, can you imagine anything better than that? Touring Europe, it's just incredible. Like, best thing ever.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's one thing I never got to do. Never got to tour with a band or anything like that. Something I would probably have loved to have done. Obviously, you'll know Dean from Away Day Radio. He's been in the chat as well, and he put a comment on there. The Coventry team's has some big bands and artists at the moment, some top tunes coming out from there. Obviously, I mentioned to you when we were off screen about the Away Day Radio gig at the end of August. Unfortunately, you can't be there because you've got your own gigs somewhere else. But you've got a mutual friend who's part of the band that's headlining it.
Yeah.
So this goes out on Sunday, the 29th of August. The band called The Weekend in Coventry. And what we're going to be doing is Dino has been so nice as to give us 2 tickets to give away to our viewers. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up with a competition question for next week's show, which will go out in 10 days' time, to win those tickets for the Bank Holiday Weekend show at the Coventry Empire, which I believe is a new venue. Is that right, lads?
Yeah, it's being refurbed now. Yeah, it was an old cinema.
I think it's relocated, isn't it? It's a venue that exists, but it's just moved to a different. It's like to the city centre. Looks like it's going to be really good, actually.
Yeah, the whole area's been revamped. It looks really good. It looks mint.
Yeah, it's actually I can see why Dino was saying that the Coventry scene's got like a really good vibe. To be fair, the Midlands has a really good sound at the minute. We've had quite a lot of guys on from down there. But looking at the list there, we've had Institute Song, we've had the Drift on. We've got Athens coming on the Wednesday before the gig. We've had Jay Tennant on, or should I say, we sort of had Jay Tennant on because we lost him halfway through because his Wi-Fi was appalling. But obviously, we're still able to get out there and play his fantastic music. And obviously, we've had people like Stab Lambert, we've had Jack Cattle on it. Also, the music scene in the Midlands is booming at the minute, and that back up with what Dino was saying. Now, I was just going to talk about, obviously, we briefly touched on festivals you've possibly got coming up. Going through, obviously, I know you've got your support and everything coming up in the not too distant future. Friday the 13th of August, So do you want to talk a bit more about that, Phil?
Well, what is there to say? You know, it's like a one-off gig, which is like quite a thing in itself. So I mean, it's one thing to get to manage to get a tour support, but when the one-off gig for a band like everything happens in your city, and to actually get on it as a support, it's top news for us. Fantastic.
It looks like it's going to be a fantastic gig, to be honest with you. And as you said, it's, you know, to have a band that comes up to you and asks you to support them in your own home city. Do you know what I mean? I think it makes it much more worthwhile and a more meaningful gig for you. Even though it was
absolutely, yeah, and it's coming at a really good time. It comes at a really good time for everyone, really. Like we're coming out of, we're hopefully coming out of this sort of nonsense that's been going on the last 18 months. So everyone will be ready for a gig like this, I think.
Yeah. So have you got much like? Sorry,
that gig's on Friday the 13th.
Yeah, it is.
And Phil's mum's Irish, which makes me think it's, you know, there could be an issue with the superstition in there.
Could be.
So have you got anything else lined up for later in the year or anything like that? And obviously you reached out to us obviously when you knew we were coming on the show. You offered us places on the whole gig that you had. Unfortunately, obviously it's a bit of a distance for any of us to travel because there's none of us based in that side. But have you got anything else lined up towards the latter part of the year?
Yeah, so well, we've got a massive gig with supporting Candid, another great Coventry band in November. We're trying to sort out our own headline as well, but we're having we're struggling with hosting it where we want to do it. We're trying to do something a little bit different. But other than that, I think we're looking at September now. We're just like weighing up some offers to play.
Have you got any more like national gigs possibly penciled in, stuff like that? I know you mentioned Doncaster. Anything else apart from that, apart at the end of August?
Yeah, Derby actually. So we do that. We do the festival on the Friday, and then we're going up to Derby, which ain't, obviously it's not too far from here, but it's a little bit further away from where we're coming from. And then the day after that, we're in Doncaster way. So we're kind of edging our way up north, which is pretty cool.
Just not far north, like for me and the rest of the lads.
Yeah, not quite anywhere. Not another country.
Don't want to get a nosebleed if we go too high up.
It's all coming off, Dad. He's going with these links again. He loves how the Coventry links are coming in there as well. Dean's saying thank you very much for promoting the gig and stuff for the rest of the lads and stuff like that as well. Daz also wants to know, because he's from Galway, he wants to know whereabouts is your man from?
Dublin, born and bred.
I would the lad else, Martin with the music. He's actually a Dublin lad as well. So it's a shame he could have got a bit more banter on with Martin about that. But right, lads, getting into the last bits of the show here. So we'll move on to the football side of things. Now, you're all Sky Blues, all Coventry fans. So how did you feel last season went?
Oh, it was class. First season back in the Championship. Squeaky bum time a little bit towards the end of the season when it looked like Rotherham had all those games in hand. But as soon as we started picking up points, we were just so happy, man. And then like the news that we were coming back to Coventry as well. As fun as it was playing at St Andrews in Birmingham, because it's a proper old stadium, that it was just a great season. Two years on the bounce where we've done really well.
Yeah, I've got one of the lads from the Loaded Mag guest show that comes on. Obviously, with you being Coventry, he wants to know if you can please sort out Gary Hoffman and Richard Keys and their NUFC opposition. So they want to know if you'll be able to do us a favour on that front.
Yes, Rich, sort it out.
Yeah, we like Hoffman, don't we?
No, we don't like Hoffman.
Do we not?
No. Apparently, there was no objections to the takeover until Gary Hoffman joined the Premier League. So no, we don't think Gary Hoffman.
But it gets more complicated the more you learn about it, doesn't it?
Oh, seriously, you know, if you came on one of our Friday shows and talked Newcastle, I'd seriously the lads would bore you to death easily for probably until the Sunday night if it was an ongoing 48-hour show. Seriously, and you wouldn't believe some of the things that you find out. Seriously, lad. But so what I want to know is, you have a weird rivalry stroke hatred, along with NUFC fans, with Sunderland. Now, I want to know why.
Scumberland.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Well, it's. I mean, it ain't me and him. It's like it's the whole of Coventry, I think. And obviously, Sunderland and Coventry have in recent years have dropped to the depths of the Football League pyramid, haven't they? And apparently, way back, Jimmy Hill, R.I.P. I think he did a sort of like a bit of match fixing, and it meant Sunderland got relegated and Coventry stayed up. And the Mackhams are still sore about it. And obviously, like the Coventry fans, it's like pure shithousery. Went up to Sunderland and just gave it stacks and stacks and stacks, and then we beat them 5-4 as well. So when they've come back down to the West Midlands to play Coventry, the police have had to like cordon off the Jimmy Hill statue to make sure the Sunderland fans don't take his head off.
It sounds nearly as bad as it sounds nearly as bad as
I don't know if you've been able to stomach that Sunderland Till I Die TV show if you're not a Sunderland fan, but
no.
The episode where they actually do the 5-4 with Coventry, like, you know, when you're laughing so hard you can't breathe, like, it's just incredible, like their reactions to it.
The thing is that
score. Like,
you know what? They gave us so much grief for having 6 in a row, wins in the derby and stuff like that, right? And then they got relegated to the championship. It's all right. We'll only be out for one season, and this, that, and the other. And now it's 6 years out the top, like, you know what I mean? It hasn't even League One. Do you know what I mean?
It's hilarious.
It's getting boring now. Do you know what I mean?
The best bit is though, like a couple of City lads went up to Sunderland when we were both in League One, weren't we? I think.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah.
And a couple of the Coventry lads jumped ship because Sunderland are a massive club, and they're still down there now.
Yeah, you do realise they're only a massive club in Sunderland. That's they're not a massive club anywhere else, only in Sunderland. As you mentioned before, they're a small town near Newcastle. There you go. Yeah, near Gateshead. Yeah, exactly. So, also, just before we round up the show, because we're getting towards the end of the show now, and we'll play out with one of your songs. I just wanted to know what's your thoughts on obviously going back to the Rico now. Obviously, you've been playing your home games all the way around the Midlands over the last few years. Does it feel nice to have your home back?
Yeah, it's come at a good time because I think there's definitely been a shift. Like, Cov people are a weird bunch. I mean, considering we're one team, we're a one club city. I don't know. We kind of we're a bit odd, but you can feel that we're on the rise, definitely on the ascendancy, and there's a feel good factor about the place. I've actually gone and renewed season ticket now that we're back at Cov as well. So I'm pretty excited about it, to be honest.
There's a lot of excitement to be had about how it's going to affect the football itself as well. Because as Paul mentioned earlier, last season we had a pretty good season considering we're playing every match away from home.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that works now. Because I mean, I think we finished in a good position considering the Championship is a hard league. It's I think people don't really realise it, but most clubs who get promoted, they're not that happy that they're getting promoted because they get to go in the Premier League. It's because they're escaping the Championship.
Yeah, the Championship is a hell of a division. It really is. There's so many ex-Premier League big, teams that you would, you look at the history that Forest have had. Leeds were down there Coventry were, a top league side for so many years as well, and obviously things that you can't control or sometimes on the pitch. It's off the pitch in the boardroom that affects the club in other different ways. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of teams have been affected and are slowly starting to go back in the right direction and getting back to the Rico and having your home games back, and then now have crowds back in from the start of the season as well. And I think you'll probably have a greater fan base probably coming back with you as well, because you won't have had many people being able to try and go up to Birmingham every single week for a home game. I think did you play down at Northampton as well for a bit as well, and Milton Keynes and stuff like that. So to go like last year to go to Birmingham for 2 weeks, you play Birmingham City twice.
Yeah.
you know, a home game and an away game. It's not really fair, is it? So
It's a mockery, and that is.
but,
It's good fun, though.
Yeah.
yeah, it's good.
Proper banter that was. Loved
I
it.
bet it was. Another bit of banter for you. Daz, one of my co-hosts he says he's got a new love and respect for Coventry now. Obviously, as all the lads are all Newcastle fans. That's how we met. So obviously he's got a love and respect for Coventry. I can probably see you'll be a lot of fans' second favourite team now after this interview tonight. Chris
That's our job done, then. We can hang up now before we say something to ruin it.
Well, it's funny you saying that because my mates that went up to the any Sunderland game, but particularly the 5-4, they went out in Newcastle after the game, obviously, and the Georges treated the Coventry lads so well because they'd obviously beaten Sunderland. So I think I think it works both ways. That love, that little loving.
Yeah, Dino's already wanted to chip in from that as well. For what we said, the Blues and Coventry, you've got respect for each other now, as we both hate the Villa.
Yeah.
I'm not lying here. I remember Newcastle being my second team back in the 90s when you had Philip Colbert and everything. Rob Lee and Alan Shearer.
Yeah. To be fair, but we've got there's links with players as well. Do you know what I mean? We have people like Mickey Quinn, Brian Kilcline. You know what I mean? With Craig Bellamy, there's even loads of links with ex-players as well that we've got that mutual affiliation with as well. So two great working town city teams. Do you know what I mean? I think that's where we both, as you mentioned before when we were talking about the collisions video. It's a lot of the heritage from your city and where you come from. And I think that's what makes Coventry City fans and Newcastle fans very similar. So lads, just as we're rounding up now, so I want to say a big thanks for coming on our very, very first Loaded Lounge. It gets really good feedback as well in there as well of some of the people watching. Keith saying he did mention earlier in the chat, Keith. What is that? His missus did win a competition at Crufts for knocking out a boxer. So I don't know if that's much off anymore. But also Daz has chipped in and said, thanks for coming on the show, lads, and best of luck with the future and the upcoming gigs as well. So what I'll do, I'm going to play out with... Well, I'll tell you what, I'll let you choose. I've got I Want My Time With You, or we've got the acoustic version of Colours. So what would you like to play out with?
Phil, I chose the last one.
I don't know what... I want to be cliche and ask the audience to shout out what they want to hear. It's like flipping a coin.
Flipping a coin. I haven't got one on it. unless you only you lads have got one.
The first person to comment with either of them as the answer, I think they should win. Or should I man up and actually give a proper answer?
Man up.
I'd like to hear the Colours acoustic version.
Then that's what you shall hit out there. Daz is feeling exactly the same with you. Colours again, loved that earlier. David Shepherd, Colours. So Dino, Colours. Everyone's coming with Colours. So they're agreeing with you there, Phil, anyway. So, lads, thank you very much for coming on the show. It was much appreciated. I was glad to get you on after so long. We can go and enjoy the football this rest of this week, hopefully. Yeah. And enjoy, hopefully, England lifting the trophy this time next week. Once again, thank you very much for coming on the show. All the best with all the gigs that you've got coming up the rest of the year. I'm sure I'll get round to come to see one of your gigs, whether you're in the northeast or if we're making down to Coventry or somewhere a bit closer again. But as I said, thank you very much for coming on the show. Much appreciated.
Cheers, mate.
And we'll play out with the acoustic version of Colours.
Cheers for having
everyone. Thank you very much, lads. Cheers.
Look out below, there goes the life you lead. Loving is easy with you on the scene. Hello, hello, when it's not what it seems. Color the pages of a magazine. For only you would I daydream. The minutes and moments afloat on the breeze, and only I would retreat. The flight on the pattern of a fallen leaf. I wanna go San Diego, I wanna go Berlin, see New York City, the colors within. I wanna go San Diego, I wanna go Berlin, to see New York City, the colors within. For only you would I daydream the minutes and moments that float on the breeze, and only I would retreat, fly on the pattern of a fallen leaf. So what if they were to see the breath from the words you try to conceal? It's only time, and I'll stand by to make things visual from a visceral truth. I wanna go San Diego, I wanna go Berlin, to see New York City and the colors within. I wanna go San Diego, I wanna go Berlin, to see New York City and the colors within. I wanna go San Diego, I wanna go San Diego. Lost in Constantinople, still silent with me, was color and chaos, poetry of the free, poetry of the free, poetry of the. I wanna go San Diego, I wanna go Berlin, to see